NHL Stadium series was right in our backyard this past weekend at Metlife Stadium, and our very own Danielle McCartan was lucky enough to be there to go behind the scenes and watch the Devils beat the Flyers. Danielle, I know it's been a crazy weekend, so thanks so much for coming on this morning.
Yeah, anytime. I could not wait to come on with you and talk about the Stadium series.
I can't wait to hear all about it. So first, let's start with the players' arrival. They first arrived at the stadium like they own the place, all dressed as Rocky Balboa. How cool was that to see them all parade in like that?
Yeah, each team had their own little thing, and obviously the Philadelphia Flyers went with the Rocky theme, which I thought was great. But being a judge myself, I deducted some points because I said to some of the players, I was like, you guys needed the music. You need the Rocky music to accompany you guys. They kind of just laughed out loud. And then the Devils, of course, arrived with the Guido outfit, the whole Guido getup, which I love that. The espresso mugs and the gold chains and the whole thing. That was cool. Very Jersey. But then, you know what? I kind of have to give the best entrance nod to the next day's performers or players, I guess, the Rangers and the Islanders, because they actually incorporated first responders. And I thought the Rangers did a really excellent job because they have a FDNY and an NYPD hockey team. And the Rangers players walked in with a member of that team wearing his jersey, which I thought was amazing. So if I had to give kind of an award to the best entrance to any one of those four teams, although I love the Jersey Guidos, I got to give it to the Rangers for their nod to the first responders.
Absolutely have to. So the Jonas Brothers played not once, but twice during the Devils-Flyers game. Would you say they lived up to all the hype leading up to the game?
I don't know. I mean, I guess, yeah, we weren't expecting them to play twice, which was
Right.
an extra bonus Jonas concert. That was cool. But yeah, I don't know. Hype wise, I mean, they're Jersey guys. I think if you're a Jonas Brothers fan, it definitely lived up to the hype. I think if you're not a fan of the Jonas Brothers, you're like, oh, these guys actually play their own instruments. They sing their own songs. They're not lip syncing. Maybe that's pretty cool. A lot of pyrotechnics in there. But I think it was a conscious choice by the NHL to kind of dig into that female
Yeah.
demographic. You saw what happened with the Super Bowl and Taylor Swift, right? So I think it was very smart and very intellectual by the NHL to include the Jonas Brothers and package them into hey, they're Jersey guys too. Let's let them play for the Devils. So I think smart all around. And we really enjoyed the concert. So I loved it.
I didn't realize that. That's actually a great point to try to get the female demographic in. And speaking of all the fans, there were 70,000 fans that came out to watch this game. That's basically a small city and certainly much more than the players are used to. So how crazy did it get with all those fans, and how did the players respond to that?
Yeah, I mean, driving through the parking lot, just getting into the stadium, and I'm talking this is the Saturday game. I worked on the fan on Sunday's game, but driving through the parking lot, it was a steady wind of 20 something miles an hour. People are still tailgating in the parking lot, playing street hockey in the parking lot. It was awesome to see. So you knew driving in that this was something special. You get into the stadium. Nico Hischier scores 30 something seconds into the game, and the stadium absolutely erupted. Now, we were sitting in the press box, so you can't really hear much. They have windows closed. But to me, it sounded like a Devils home game. I mean, 70,000 Devils fans is kind of what it sounded like to me. I asked Eric Howell after the game, and I was like, hey, did that sound like a Devils home crowd to you? And he was like, I'm paraphrasing here, but he basically said, the fans are so far away and we're not used to that. All you heard was a lot of cheering and yelling and noise. So to differentiate, he couldn't really. And then, of course, Brandon Smith scored a goal. And one of my missions was after the game to go find a guy that scored a goal and asked him what it feels like to score in front of 70,000 people. And when I asked that question, his face totally lit up. And he was basically wow, it was freaking awesome. And then, of course, he went into, it was good to get the 2 points and all that. But there was a moment where he was like, yeah, man, that was cool.
He was like a kid again. Well,
Yeah.
they were two great games this weekend in one way or another. The Devils owned the Flyers on Saturday, and the Rangers had a nice come-from-behind victory against the Islanders on Sunday. Which win would you say was more impressive?
Yeah, I don't know because I don't know. It's kind of like a toss-up because the Devils, the Flyers are above the Devils in the standings, and like you said, they absolutely owned them. So for that was impressive. But I think I got to give the nod to the Rangers because they started in the Flyers' position basically because the Islanders went out and scored like 2 or 3 goals in like 3 minutes. And you look down and you look back up and they scored again. So the Rangers, I think, was a little bit more impressive because they came from behind, they clawed back. I mean, that was still the first period. They could have packed it in and been like, "Yep,
Yeah.
we're out. We're just gonna." But for them to keep clawing back and finding a way and finding a way, and then to capitalize on the mistakes of the Islanders, the penalty by Mayfield, in the third period, late in the third, that to me is a mark of a championship team. So yeah, I said it. I put some money on the Rangers to win the Stanley Cup, and they just showed you that they are down but never out. So for me, that game was more impressive.
Danielle McCartan of WFAN, I'm so glad you had a good time, and thanks so much for sharing it with us this morning.
I hope they have a stadium series here every year. It was awesome.
They should, and if they have one next year, I will be there.
Deal.
Have a great day. Head over to ONNJ.com for the latest news and sports anytime.